기부도 남시 야부도
Yeah, give it
나서 강가를 다시 들래 야
Good morning, everybody. 다시 들래?
다시 들래 야라 올라서 산제 쳐다 소견조나
Jonamla, Janju,
장조바나
Bada,
나네
Dadi, Gapsuchi, Dagi,
아제 취진제
Chanyan, Gipe,
소나
Soknam, Ki, Jolam,
돌아
Panja,
반제
Sangan,
산제
Jukpa, So,
산제 쳐다
Chodam,
소견
Soki, Jonamla,
나
Janju,
장조바도
Bada,
나네
Dadi, Gapsuchi, Dagi,
아제
Chanyan,
취진제
Soknam, Jolam, Panja, Sangan, Jukpa, So,
산제 쳐다
Chodam, Soki, Jonamla, Janju, Bada,
장조바도
Dadi,
소소
Gapsuchi,
아제
Dagi, Chanyan, Gipe, Soknam, Ki, Jolam, Panja,
소나
Sangan, Jukpa, So,
다얀다엔 가데
Gate para gate para
파라솜가데
sangha di
보데소
bodhisvaha.
다얀다엔
Gata gate
가데
gate para gate para sangha
파라솜가데
gate
보데소
bodhisvaha.
다얀다엔
Gate
가데
gate para gate para sum
파라솜가데
gate
보데소
bodhisvaha.
원라 소나 심제 탐제가 돈도 톱잘라나 마제바 산제 공부를 뭐지 진내야 토바자 대체도 내 장조선바 라자나 수치서 냥도 랑고 랑와라 신고 셰와라 퇴고 되지 좀 많어 가지고 가서 봐대는 계속 좀 시와라 집에 준주고 되는 제제 팀이 얘기 삼삼체
And so we, as normal, then set our motivation to do whatever we possibly can to attain the peerless state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. To attain that state, of course, we must understand what all of the, must practice and perfect all the trainings on the Bodhisattva path. In order to do that, we must gain an understanding of them. And to gain that understanding, we must be able to rely upon an unmistaken source. And so it is with this in mind that we are here today to listen to some verses from the great mind training text known as the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, as composed by the great master Shantideva.
rangi dungi nangala lama tubya ongbo ani shaji ngorangi tinja tsaga lama imbola naba tubya ongbo ani chigo shaji chani yesani yenyanshaga tena luze namba kula chugu ngome tochen soa ngosumba khora rangi dungi nangala shuyo samsamche
And so then we also set up our merit field. Our merit field is containing the figure of, the reality of our own root guru, in actual fact, our own root guru, but in the aspect of Shakyamuni Buddha, who has one face, two hands, is seated in the Vajra posture, with the right hand in the earth-touching mudra, the left hand in the meditative equipoise mudra, holding an alms bowl filled with nectar. And we really are sure that the Guru Buddha is there in the merit field in front of us.
rangi tago deya rangla tuma meba tingi jambe ane tseti pama ne jibe tseti pama tsengama dengama jibe tuma meba tingi jambe ane majinga simja tamche masawa meba rangi tago deyo samsamche
And that we visualize in the space all around us are all kind mother sentient beings, beginning with the parents of this life, the ones in the life previous to this one, previous to that one, previous to that one, going back to beginningless time and countless rebirths, such that we now have the vision of all sentient beings without exception surrounding us.
오늘 심지어 대다 탐제가 되베 대화를 대고 미디어바 동네를 등은 찌기절라 찌기내는 용되게 아니 란다 고코는 총화인 바지 공부시
And when we think of the sentient beings all around us, we see that they want happiness and they do not want suffering, but they are bereft of the happiness that they want, and they are inundated with the suffering one after the other, and that they do not want.
어들리체 들레인데 아니 대다 심지어 대다 탐제자 아니 저 란다 대화 자원이는 많이게 란다 대화 요되게 어들리체 토마메 팅키야 마그 심지어 봐 아니 대 마셔봐 아니 아니 마제바 가서 세디 마다는 진짜 등이 장당 근데 진 전부다 다가저 진 소고로 와. 진 소고로 and Jin Soko. But the legend Jesot Mashe Tinte Jesoko Topachi get out to any delta Samjala Yongi Chambaki Murwa. Yongi Chambaki son Detago Tungen Nasul Mississippi Niji to Murwa. Nijiko. Nijiko. Any Dewa didn't do get Chamba. Tunga Tamja Dewa Tamja the Deba Nye Chickens Pachiga to the Simja Tamja and Simja Chigia Dewa Tamja Tunga Tamja Dewa Chema to what Sibuja. And it did jet to a new the Sula to us and the Rangituna said Lama to be on Simjing the two year, Lam Mobas of Konato, and the Kongo Combaja Tawayina, and the Simjing come the Meva, Pala Neva Chita, why should the King Yovata, and Chicha Simjing Donna Maju made, and the Kongo Tombaja Madonna Tamanto, Tubachi, Sansa Combacha.
And so that, we start to contemplate really the connection that we have with all of these sentient beings. And first of all, whether we have a connection or not. And of course we do. We have, in just our contemplation now, having this contemplation with kind mother sentient beings, a sense of beginningless time. And that in all of that time, they in so many instances acted as an actual mother to us. And if when they didn't, they acted like a mother to us. And so the question is how do we pay back that kindness? How is it that we can can we make up and pay back that kindness? And so it's kind of like really initially, we have to develop this sense of affectionate love and to hope that all sentient beings can enjoy happiness. And of course, the compassion that is a prerequisite of removing their suffering. And then there's this love, wishing all sentient beings to abide in happiness. And so we want to develop these qualities. We really have a firm kind of sense of responsibility to do this. But we can't. It's beyond us at the moment. But when we look to see who has that capacity, we see that it is the Guru Buddha, that figure of enlightenment. And that they have, for the benefit of sentient beings, generated this mind of enlightenment. For the sake of sentient beings, they have proceeded on the path, and for the sake of sentient beings, they have manifested a full and complete enlightenment. And so this shows me what I must aim for, and I must be very committed and have total conviction in what I'm doing. I must attain the state of enlightenment in order to be able to benefit the sentient beings as I want to.
And then what are the Lama to be on Bogi, Taka, Kusun to get you then, Damn Shipping and Rock, what the Kata, what the Delatena, Taretaba, Ichikataba, Mundugataba.
And then in recalling the qualities of the Guru Munindra, we are inspired to pure faith, manifest faith, and the faith of conviction.
Lama to be on the Lama to be on Boga, and Jiwa on Goba Temba Armor to a home with a stick set up. And the day you usually was a part of Meba Simja Tamjaga and Neto Dictate Tamja Pachang. And the Gawatsawa dinner, and it don't you be today come Yonzo, and other me, and it chivet not so bacane, and a Chuji Gawa said that about Yachimapi. Chuji Gawa said that about a Chuba Puala dinner, Chuji Gawa said that about two Chuba de Dagish and the two gila Dewato, they don't buy it, they don't use me, she just some chat. And guess some such a dinner, got a data to you cool at dinner, and Deda Kusun to get to you, Kusun to get you, number Lama to be on bed, number Chantana, Rangituna said Lama to be on the party. So, Laya Lama to be on the Tugale, Sapato Mebaton, only Lana Chanta, and it is what I tell them about Ongo to so, she has all a Deva tenor, no only Ongo, Chula, what we give a wicked days. What did you come by?
Then we see how the Guru Munindra, as the merit field, is marked by the three syllables at the crown, at the throat, and hung at the heart center. Light rays now emanate from all the three syllables, entering into the the crowns of all the sentient beings in all the realms of existence, purifying negativities and obscurations that they have accumulated since a beginningless time. The virtue of this then is offered to the 3,000 world Buddhas, and that it comes out in the form of all the possible most wonderful offerings of human beings and celestial beings. This is accepted by the Buddhas. They experience a sense of bliss which combines with voidness, and they abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. And then from their heart centers in the aspect of themselves, they send forth the wisdom beings which come and dissolve into the Guru Manindra in our merit field, and we really kind of fully consecrating our Guru Buddha. And then light rays emanate again from the Guru Manindra, going out into the pure realms, inviting the empowering deities from their natural abode. They come and offer the nectar of empowerment, some of which then overflows at the crown chakra, spontaneously producing the figure of Akshobhya.
단대가 랑게 되나 세다 라마 투여 온보데 25 고소치나 25 고소치나 다 간제 지금 가서데 조직자 왔어다 집에게 다 다니도 이바디 뭐쳐 받잖아 와다도 다 야고 시고 중소 들리자 다 간제 라마 투여 온보다 라셨음제 탐제 안베 25 고소치나 라셨음제 탐제베 제소는 다 야고 시고 중소 산제전 라마 투여 온보 그 어느 검시가 고소도 그 연대 좀 당해도 봐 이제가 뭐도 그 대화 된다. 심지어 랑게 타고네 심지어 대다가 동에 나처럼 미스베 닝제 대화도 된도 그 잡아 안 동에 대다 대화 탐제 대화 니에 지기했어. 학습 안 대다 학습 대 제도 안 지가도 제모도 봤으면 대대 제도에 네바데 달라마 투베 뭐 고마도 마도는 타면도 대내서 고마도 받지기 세베는 자주 그서 좀 순제가 고 같은 데
And so that the Guru Manindra, we really feel is really there, is really now empowered in the embodiment through the wisdom beings and the empowering deities, the embodiment of all the Guru Buddhas and of all the realms of existence, and that all that is there kind of willing to be a protector, as it were, to be looking after all sentient beings. And this then produces again the sense of this triple faith, faith of pure faith, of conviction, of manifest faith. And that we recall again the exalted motivation or intention that we have to really be the ones to remove the suffering of all sentient beings, to place them in every happiness. And again, thinking of that, what kind of state of mind has the capacity to be able to do that? It is just that which I am visualizing now, and that I know I am not there yet, but I have this sense of wanting this kind of genuine, artificial as it is, motivation to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. But I will work to quickly make this an unartificial aspiration for enlightenment.
어떤 데게 심지 탐제게도 산제 공부 두바치기 토바치기 생각되는데 대 검네 디 된데게 두바티 아니 가서데 두바티 딱 간제 이게 아질라 교수 삼사자 아니 니가 이게 아질라 교수 아용서 줘봐라 다외 정권 약화와 교수 다 심지 탐제게도 산제 공부 두바치기 있어 두고 나대 가봐도 예 류들도 예 셈들도 텔레신방 가시도가 파세 줘도 아니 나디 니기무도 와 나니기무도 와 많이 봐도 나 많이 봤다가라 칼아봐 셈샬 한 조금 더 세.
So, and of course, then this aspiration that we have, yes, I can and I will attain that state of enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient being. This is then gives rise to the syllable A, which is then transformed into the moon mandala seat at our own heart center. And then when I say I will attain the state of enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Now I enter into an analysis of where that self, that I, is to be found. It is within the body-mind nexus. I'm looking into the body, looking in through the mind, and going through the analysis and not finding it. And it's at that point of that mere not finding, the mere negation of the object of negation, that I now place my mind in focused meditation.
Delega manibe maniba tagara semsha gacha kazam de semsha anti yonsu jobale igi 혼질라 조소서 다외 긴고게 된데 이거 혼질라 조소서 혼 요소 jobale 안 도지 가버 쟁가 봐지 뭐 조소 선서 공바차.
And that placement, just on that mere negation of the object of negation, produces the syllable hung, and that hung transforms into a five-pronged vajra, which stands upright on the moon disk at our heart center.
근데 다와 도제 쟁가 봐지 도스콤 오다 된데게 가서 장주 생그 춘데 다와디다 아니 돈이 도베 싫어 그 춘데 도지가 뭐 쟁가 봐지 근데 뒤 남에 알려기면 섭사자 산제 고마 마토고 봐도다 디 아니 가서데 가서 단다데 주마 춘제레데 디 양의 공의 공도 빼네 주마 많이 변걸 탈 산제 그 투주게네 다와 도제 쟁가 봐지는 주도가 지금 서서 고바샤.
And that's I make myself again a very brief time just to place our focus on the mandala, the moon disk mandala with the five-pronged upright vajra at our heart center, realizing that this is the representation of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness, and make a pledge to ourselves that we will never ever forsake these two minds until we attain the state of enlightenment, till we have actually attained the mind of a Buddha. And that even though I know this is an artificial aspiration now, I am working assiduously to make it an unartificial motivation.
어떤데 저는 나가 이제 어떤데 다와 도지 쟁가 봐 어떤 란다랑 다와 심지 탐지고 두줄려고 다와 도지 쟁가 봐 어떤데 싶고 아니 랑이 되나 세다 라마 두병부 두가래 다와 도지 쟁가 봐 쉬어 봐 공부시 아니 디 다와도 덤베 쟁가 어머니머니 마음이어서 어머니머니 마음이어서 되네 코딩이 이어 봐 공부시.
So this combination of moon disk mandala with the upright five-pronged vajra is repeated at the heart centers of all the sentient beings all around us, and not to mention the Guru Manindra in our merit field. And surrounding this now is the name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha, Om Muni Muni Mahamuni E Soha.
아니 가브리카르 라마 투베온 보컴 가브리카르 라마 투베온 보 투가라 다와도지 쟁가 버틀콤 아니 델레 다와도지 쟁가 버 랑다 빠도 메바존 랑다랑게 타고 되어 심제 탐자라 게 다와도지 쟁가 버틀 바팀소 섬자체 마팀네 아니 템베 투주기 장주에서 동네도베 셔라게 아니 연대 탐자 저 심제 탐자 규라 중수 섬자체 와들 공부시.
And so, as we're reciting the mantra, we visualize that from the heart center of the Guru Manindra, that there are countless replicas of this combination sent out along countless light rays, entering into the moon disk mandala and the Vajra at our own heart center, and at the heart centers of all the sentient beings all around us. That this is affecting not only a kind of a purification, but also the kind of like endowment or the inspiration for us to turn a non-artificial conception of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness into a non-artificial mind of enlightenment and a direct realization of emptiness.
어들레체 아니 되네 어떤베 투주게 다와도지 쟁가 바다 어머니머니 마음이어서 랑게 란다랑게 타고도 심지 탐제 그 아니 두갈래야 다와도지 쟁가도 덤베 쟁가 어머니머니 마음고도 아니 어머니머니 마음서 어머니머니 마음서 어머니머서 어 되네 장다 아니 바 제지민의 장화들은 다와도제 쟁아바다 아니 덤베 투주기 가서 다와도제 쟁아바다 아니 덤베 숭아들래 안베 외세트는 외세트는 아니 외세 빠도 매바트는 랑다 랑에 타고데 심제 탐제게 다와도제 쟁아바다 덤베 숭아들 외세 포네 아니 가서 자주가 셈 개발라 개개 바제 탐제 시와 자주가 셈 맞게 거네 돈이도 be 싫어 개발라 개개 바제 탐제 시네 맞게 거네 건도 폐 어때 다가네 시게 기부스게 람 고발라 개개 바제 탐제 시 아니 개개 바제 탐 기부스게 람 고발 배 노름도 교회게 아니 가서 됐다 징계라 소사 어때 공바신 어머니 멀마서 왜세 전에 랑다 빠도 매버전 랑다 그 심제 탐자 마 팀서 삼사전 공바신 아니 주주베 계제 류게 나자 생거 동에 가가 시와 종소 뭐 안다니시다 베나 지가 소리 베나 지가 베나 파진 두래 집에 파진 냠내 집을 게 파진한테 시와 종소 안 추린 거 파진 냠내 집에 게 파진한테 시와 종소 아니 집에 파진 냠내 집을 파 아니 준비가 바지 냠제 집을 아니 가서도 땡에 땡게 바지 냠설로 말아 아니 개개 다제 시와 중소 삼사 아니 셔르게 바지 냠설로 말아 개개 다제 시와 중소 삼사 되게 투주게 아니 제소 바지 그거 냠래 지신도 제투에게 앞에 누가 개바지 샤소 어디게 바지 둘러 바자네 되게 와 어디를 줘라 야 가서 야는 가서도 자네 되게 다 가자 가봐 자네 바 자잖아 어디래 저는 최대다 대냠네 집을 안 개개시 튕제도 다 야고 시고 중소 어디를 공부하시네 어디를 공부하시
So then, focusing on the Guru Manindra in the space in front, we see that light rays are now beginning to emanate from the heart center of the Guru Manindra. And on these light rays, again, are the representation of the moon disk mandala, and the upright Vajra with the surrounding, the name mantra surrounding in a clockwise direction. And these now become like really countless. This light really flows now very powerfully, containing infinite representations of this combination. And they enter into the same combination that all ourselves and all other sentient beings have at our heart center. They dissolve into there. And then we continue to recite the name mantra Om Muni Muni Maha Muni So. This is all happening while we are reciting this mantra. And what we feel is the eradication of all obstacles, particularly obstacles to the attainment of the mind of enlightenment and a realization of emptiness. And that we really think of whatever degree of the mind of enlightenment and a realization of emptiness that has not arisen, may it arise and may it grow and increase more and more and more. And that all of the obstacles to my attaining all the paths to enlightenment, may they be gone as well. May I have the blessing to be able to assimilate all of these paths as quickly as possible. Any obstacles of body, such as disease or illness, that is completely eradicated, and of the mind as well, that any obstacles that are there, may they be completely eradicated. Free my mind to be able to completely commit to spiritual practice. In terms of my Mahayana obligations of really perfecting the 6 perfections, that may I have all the obstacles to my perfecting generosity eradicated, and the capacity to really fully actualize the generous mindset. Similarly, in terms of ethical conduct, in terms of patience, in terms of enthusiastic effort, of meditative concentration, and of wisdom, that all the obstacles there relative to those perfections are completely eradicated, and I have this special capacity to perfect these perfections as much as possible. And I really feel this. So whatever emphasis I have in my practice, one can apply this as well, so that as the blessing is dissolving into the moon disk mandala, the upright vajra, and the surrounding mantra at our own heart centers and those of all the sentient beings all around us, that whatever focus I have in my practice now, that all the obstacles to that are now completely eradicated. And also I have this special blessing to actualize that into my life.
아니 다가는 지금 랑게 나와도 퇴바다 아니 로다 그래서 용화다 다 근데 지만에 근데 중화 인바이나야 근데 중화이나 대다 담자 아니 가서 장주가 선다 돈이 도베 싫어게 봐라 아니 튕견도 튕견도 줘봐라 아니 개 근데 저 랑게 삼로게다 남도 개 근데 좀 봐시와 중소 상도 어디에 공부 자두네 되거와 뒤종도 개 쳐보지래도 어디에 공부시
And similarly, that any of the obstacles that arise in our own life through our illness or setbacks or the untoward happening in our lives, again, that we again do not see them as obstacles, but rather to be able to take them on as conducive conditions to furthering my mind of enlightenment and wisdom, realizing emptiness.
what 튕겨를 줘도에 개칼이 요원 봐시 딱 간제 저 도도가 있나 칼이 통화 있나냐 칼이 퇴바 있나야 칼이 용화 있나야 근데 중화 대다 단자 장주 것도 돈이 도배 싫어게 튕겨를 줘야 요래 줘야 요바도 먼저 제투고 요 말. 제마도다 줘야 요바데 아니 줘투바 용에게 아니 줘야 요바데 다 줘투바 용에 개칼도 소소 삼로 땅땅 돈에 개 두배 로다 저그 된데 개 가리 여바 이마에 개타제 10월 중소 삼사 개타제 10월 중소 딱 앉아 랑게 통화 퇴와 젬바 아니 가자데 뇽와 디가 그가 잔주선다 돈이 도베 싫어게 그 튕겨를 자도는 모두 바제면도와 바제면도와 다 모두 디 잠하도 받은 거저 바제래도와 근데 잠하도 받 용에 잠하도 받 지긴 게 아니 다디게 남도이나 가르데 시와제 징글랍도스 소와달샤 어디로 공부하시나? 좋아.
And so this is really important, really, because in brief, we can say that whatever we do in life, whatever we see, whatever we hear, whatever we experience, that we can see it only and ever as a conducive condition to again furthering my mind of enlightenment, my wisdom, realizing emptiness. That anything that might otherwise be classified as obstacle, we don't see as obstacle, we see it as opportunity. And that's here, this is about whatever we think, whatever we recall, and that all of what's missing is the training, the mind training in this, because once we look into it, we can see actually that there is no such thing as an obstacle to our furthering our mind of enlightenment and our wisdom, realizing emptiness. That everything, every single moment of experience is ripe for us to be able to increase the depth and meaning of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom, realizing emptiness.
다 디제토바이나 아니 무슨 발제 요말이야 발제 요말 건가 쥐어주베 튕겨래 야구 중나 독자 중나 건가 쥐어주베 튕겨 다 디중도 아이나 때문에 미닝풀들에도 와 디메나 미닝풀문도
So if we can do that, then of course there is no such thing as an obstacle, and that whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, we simply see it as a conducive condition to our practice. And that means that's what making meaningful is all about. And that if we're unable to do that, then it's questionable whether what we are doing is meaningful.
네, 아니 건가 good news 저기도 와 건가 good news 잡으래
That's very
야구 중에 good news
so just it's only good news, as Gemma says, whether it's bad or good, it's good news.
어디는 자 장주선 돈이 또 왜 싫어들 끼를 배주 땅 투와 이나 배주 땅 투바이나 땅문에 가서래 미기 남주 배주 약주도 땅도 미기 남주 배주 새 토주도 땅도 새 토주 다디 땅도 봐 제국도
And so, like, if we can use every instance like that to further our understanding of and meaning in the wisdom, realizing emptiness, and the mind of enlightenment, then really that's the best we can do with our lives. And that is the best possible life we could live.
야, 어디를 오늘 루아 세링부 되네 meaningful 제 통도 전에 meaningful 다 가야 개와 요 말을 가잖아 24-hour 7-day meaningful 잡으래 meaningful 잡으래 15대 meaningful 잡으래 나바대 meaningful 잡으래 갱과 잡아대 meaningful 잡으래 개바대 meaningful 잡으래 루아 디면은 개와 가와 치와 다 되게돼 나와 아니 되게돼 가가 동해래도 와 되게가 동해래 지나래 동해래 얘네디 가서데 데데 얘네 디 안에 가서데다 계획 튕겨를 줄투에 도와 계획 튕겨를 줄투받으면 수에 제투고 사람다 미면도 제투고면 도와 준두고 제투고 말해 미면도 제투고면 도와 미야 삼로 띵 사보 땅에 계속 다니 전부 뒤즈면도 제투고면 도와 제투고면 도와 다디 제투에 털은 것도 배주 제고 도와 나라도 그 히로 문에 대해 계속 다니지 모르고 먼저 밑에 다사티 먼저 밑에 다사 다 코나서 그 지에 대 먼저 제토나 다 틱대어다 틱대어 아니 먼저 밑에 너를 말해
And so this is the really formula that is going to make for the best use of time, whether we have a long life, whether we have a short life. This is that which can be applied 24/7 without fail, and that applicable through birth, old age, sickness, and death. That which is classified as sufferings, the kind of the classic enumeration of the main sufferings of a life. But we have the capacity to take a different view. Why? Because we are not animals, we are human beings, and we have that capacity of intelligence to be able to see from a different point of view. And that means then that we can see what is the using our intelligence to see how we can transform all of these instances from being sufferings into something that is useful for the increase of the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness, the best possible use of those instances, of those stages. And when we are able to if we want a hero in life, we look no further than the great children of the conquerors, the bodhisattvas, who are living this life constantly 24/7. We don't need to look elsewhere for our heroic examples that we can emulate the great bodhisattvas, and that this is how we do it.
어디는 공부하셔 다 되는 이번인도 다 간제 저기 된데 그 안에 저거 냠내지에게 다 슝게부터부터 준주 이번에 된데 이거서 한번 두배 오부 komis시방하나 심절은 닝제 로스 심절은 미베 닝제 대화대 된도게 잡아 아니 어때 대화대 된도게 잡아 동에들 된도게 닝제 아니 대화 탐제 동에 잡아 아니 게 지금 있습니다 악습 근데 제가 저도 제 모두 봐서 근데 제 두에 누바데 아니 산제고 콩을 여바 인자는 콩고 공부마다 타면 섬서 왔는데 그 장주가 셈콩 시베가는 왔다 생주체 호텔에서
And so then as we prepare for the text, we really reaffirm with extra conviction that say that this is going to be my practice from here on in. And that I'm going to get some information from the great mind training text on this subject, the Bodhisattva's way of life, and to reaffirm my desire to remove the suffering of all sentient beings, namely compassion, and that wish to place all beings in happiness, the love. And I'll develop that sort of, again, that special intention of wanting to do that myself, to take my personal responsibility to be able to do this. That means I attain that state of enlightenment. And again, this is how we do it, by following the example of the Bodhisattva. So that's what I'm going to do. Shoktrang Niga Shipju Sheni. And wogi take the Sumba. Dutsi Niemiklani.
Dunzi Nimila Nietzsche. Dunzi Nimila Nietzsche. Retanda something looting by insan, something loot, something Sheragunyamiche looting by insan. That didn't Sumba Dunzi Nimila Nietzsche. Chibata Robert Kavia, the Dunzilla Chapa Michawacha. That Chapa Michawa, Della Shejakoba was that on Bunny. Jibata Robert Kavia, the Dunzilla Chapa Michawa, the Mijawan Tawala, Simjam Meba, Nasobe, Kevejan and Migona, Tarang and Michiku, David Chita, Sambatang Sam, Simje Neba, Mela Neba Chala Miniature, Ranshan, Droga, Dedaki, Gawachita Kawachurcha.
And so we are at the chapter called Meditative Concentration, developing meditative concentration, and looking into all of the conditions that are necessary in order to develop such concentration. We're looking at a third subheading showing focusing on the faults of society, or the busyness of society. And this has two subheadings. The first is one should not be attached to the busyness of society, because when one associates with the childish, it's very difficult. And secondly, the reason behind this. The root text is from verse number 22, which states, "If even the conqueror was unable to please the various inclinations of different beings, then what need to mention an evil person such as I? Therefore, I should give up the intention to associate with the worldly. They scorn those who have no material gain and say bad things about those who do. How can they, who are by nature so hard to get along with, ever derive any pleasure from me?"
Geshe kage de Geshe maga de Geshe kage de and the insa ko doba tuwe de ko de doba tuwe de lela bo chiri bo lela bo mo de kana no so so ke che tuwe ke che de na ne tinga ze kong ke che ban ane de le ko ko ni de ba yina ane tinga ze tum tu ba wa ke chi go yo wa de le insa semje kam da me ban na so ba yin ba insa ane semje ko da chi dang wo ze semje le pya ba de du go de yina yang 먼저 디가서 데 먼저 레 당보 아직 엔셈제 레 당보 아직 또 쪽지 슉 쳐잡아 이나 아니 그런 거 요래 근데 이마에서 매번 나서 온게 매번 나서 배 온게서 탑 나서라 개개개 아니 배 이렇게 로다 저 심제라 다 가서 페버 주에게 탑 나서 봐라 아니 개되게 아니 상계 장 계획 장에 뭐구나 계획 장 아니 심제 그 로다 가서 갑도 de la simje kange guaji yong tu yo mar korang ge le da semje khoran zo kam da me bata an leg onke na zu min da yong yu ba yin tu kapdu de kutwa ji yong yu me go na an ngara zo da bo ta le tang bo a ji nge be ku min ni be kutwa ji yong go ma de me ji ko de sa de we na jigden nam da drog be samba ta wa cha de jigden na do drog ji shu shu bo ji samba pa le dang je ne ina de la pe bo de sam lo de le ma ta de la drog ji ji di lo la dun de drog de都是略当过的给吃不的是，的略马当我因为呢，的在组织修桥的呢，安的大他们家的判断一个，安个在娘们接了略主的是，略个的是，当我家的是，现在男的是，现在男的你把没把了，算了没了，他感觉这现在没把穿的要嘛的，这个个在脚步是呢，哪里脚步人的，人家来通州当现在。야 대 야고 지어봐 이나 야 될야 아 저기 야 견주 제중 뭐 지그래 세 중도 잡로라 소저 가마가다 된대 only 계자 지 가서래 린자 통자 나 소바지 세지 가자 용용 계획이 그 전에 이나 유되겠지 된제 제라다 니바 제라 로스 쥐도다 그 무사이데 야고사요 말에 그 지지제 그 참바래 지지르서 아니 로스 그 돈을 중앙에서 봐 견주 제대 미니뭐 줘봐 제베나 간이자 미고베스 근데 인자 심제 강가를 구하지 용토에 걸어 용말서 그래서 내 당보 뒤 온도 잖아 미워서 란신교 더 가외서 다 근데 인자 그런도 시각을 돈에 강가를 대바 투마 용할 걸어 더 가와 대다게 달라 가와 지다 장바 주대서 다 근데 저는 가사를 다 가자 저 소속의 최주변 냠래를 만요 야보지 용토에 걸어 용말했어 제다 장바 주대 미주로 봐오자
And so, of course, these verses in the context of especially wanting to develop meditative concentration, and therefore this kind of behavior, these kinds of associations are deemed as obstacles, naturally enough. It's kind of like when you are over associating with people like this, it's hard to engage in the Dharma. But it's especially hard and almost impossible to develop meditative concentration. So this is the context for these verses. So it's really saying that, you know, that first of all, sentient beings are so varied, you know, that some will be likable, some unlikable. It's endless, and that, you know, you kind of need countless means by which you can make a connection. And they're saying that even from the conqueror's point of view, from the Shakyamuni Buddha's point of view, they were some sentient beings were not possible to please, and so therefore, by comparison, if you say somebody negative like me, you know, no need to explain how I can't make a good connection with everybody. And so for that reason, it's saying that in this context, especially, that we should really distance ourselves from the worldly, from that which is worldly. Now, in saying that, of course, that for those sentient beings which we might ordinarily associate with, it's not like we are completely abandoning them. We are never forsaking them mentally. There's always that love there. There's that compassion there. But for the purpose of what we want to achieve, we are distancing ourselves as is something essential. And that, you know, in the second of these verse there, where you have these childish people, very judgmental, that they will criticize those who do not have any material gain, who are poor, saying that they're very low in merit or something like that, or any other derogatory thing. In fact, again, is advising that it's probably very advisable not to say anything when one comes across somebody who is poor or homeless or something like this, that commentating on their condition is like opening a door or a gate to the mental affliction that will come up, and you start making judgments on that. And that these childish also they also are critical of those who have, that maybe those who are well off and say, yeah, but they're involved in all these scams, or they have gained what they have through wrong livelihood, etc., etc. So saying negative things about them. So it's kind of like, it by nature, these kind of people are hard to get along with. And so it's saying here, very difficult to please them, really hard to please. And therefore, in this particular instance, especially, we should keep our distance.
다 간저 로다 아니 가초초 두초초 아니 지기 간에 지기 가기 말에 얘네 어디네 용도 왔다 간저 아니 다 소수 소수 가서 간사 파를 보고 막아서 지마이나 야 나라도 가보잖아 야디 가기 말에 간저 간가 소소소 대바도 좀 조고야 소치 그러나 얘 막아나 안 키랑게 될 가초고 말했을 소치 얘 가나 키랑게 디 가고 그랬어 다 간저 야고 도스나 마티가 독자 도스나 마티가 다 간저 라마도가 쇼지 코나 소소소소 컵도 그 삼라가리 대만난 신게 아니 삼라단의 제대도 아니 드럭하고 쇼지 이데 메게 아니 덴데젤라 덴데게 제조 장되는 아니 거 냠내 코라 용해 매버라 덴데 이바 인자 아니 가서래 델레제 덴네파 료단의 제제는 아니 료단 제서 생외되는 딜라 펜바트에 저도 최냠내 지금 열봐 이내 디다 줘 먹어야 줘야게 강 누는 거 줘야게 줘야 디다 때바 이나 아니 딜라드는 차단을 놓기고 여봐다 딜라드는 최고 계획지고 여봐다 시험바 제제 이내 디다 냠도 야 딜라 제외 선바도 말려봤지 딜라 펜베 선바 말려봤지 디데 냠내 지에 딜라 펜베치도 냠내 지에 봤지对吧 어디 간다 간사 디다 간사 되게 쩌바니데 예와 체제 쩌바 간사 딜라 때 쩌바 임바 이나 아니 디 쩌바 디 온게 냠내를 누구 됐지 야 간사 코라를 쩌와 여봤지我等的这个我呢上了单，俺搞这个把电过来是把电了，他们是这个有时我等的是，
So, we're talking about associating with people who are very fickle and very judgmental. The ones who go, I like, I don't like, I want, I don't want. And that here, that they want to draw you into their narrow frame of reference, that they want you to dislike the people that they dislike, even though you might think of them as a friend, or to only like the ones that they like, and so on. Here, you may be not allowed to have your own thinking on the issue, because such people, they really consider their own thought as superior. And so in such an instance, it can be very difficult to practice, but one must learn really to never separate the person from their behavior. And for the person, one must always have that mind of benefit, to really try to be the one who is really helpful, who is really beneficial here, without contravening your own ethical stance and so on. And that is very, very important, not to separate the person from their behavior, but do not accede to their negative behavior. And you may need to distance yourself. You may need to associate in much less with such people, and to not kind of fall into I like, I don't like, the attachment and aversion game that is often played with people like this. But to never lose one's mind of benefit for such people.
나라도 디견 요래 레당보 요래 아니 된데 견 이거 진ям도 대화이나 더 견이 창 거와 당 나라도 래 견이 매바이나 내줄로 가라 나라도 견이 요래 레당보래 레당보에서 견이 요래 레당보 시가도 요래와 디 시가도 요 다도다 된데 시가 유견냠도 디전에 아니 거 제발로다 잠시전 또 카부 요래 다 된데 이번에 자를 안에 시가도 요바체 아니 파조들 시가도 요바체 아니 대제도 아니 랑게다 좋아시 땅고 섬선은 좋아다는 강에 제대 그래 와 좋아다는 강에 제대 와 그러나 랑 가부 요바체 창시라 동에 알코올이 바체 아니 랑게 로바 그 알코올이 바이나 다랑 창빵고 섬사 제바이나 디즈냠도 대대나 창빵 두고 말와 창빵도 다 된대게 창다 제와 매개냠도 아니 제와 샤제네 아니 그 창빵도 지구로 와 소저 조로 대로 사로 통로 건가 창동의 장자지 뭐이나 아니 라창 다시라 통고고 요번 다들 창대 님이 전부도 다 창대 마다나 타면도 다 빵가 지구도 삼사제도 아니 대전념도 대대나 니마 찍샤도 솜샤도 간다서는 샤도 말해 그러 아니 대두가 구용으로 왔다 간제 저 가데데 저거 되려 아니 라는 검시도 요래 아니 또창 마동게다 아니 창을 님이 따게 된대게 아니 좋아지다 때마이나 거 빵에 또 내라 요봐 내라 다 디소르치래 다 이나 디 단데 디치도 라라 교인데 매버스게 요마다 라라 교인 요바체 아니 셴레 교인 요바체 내당 보아체 아니 거 디제도 아니 거而且主关是呢，你们当这个你就送着干啥子呢？样，这这话修什么有的也让这个马小周了吧，小周了吧，他感觉，等等他生意的感觉这边的他，
So we must, of course, understand where we're at, and we are classified as beginners, and therefore we have faults. We know that, and those we associate with more than likely have faults as well. And when you kind of like associate with somebody with a similar disposition to your own, it's kind of difficult to see beyond the faulty thinking there, because you share so much in common. And so it's kind of like to differentiate yourself in a situation like that is more difficult. For example, those who drink alcohol, if you're somebody said, I've given up drinking alcohol, but all your mates are drinking still. So when you're with them, it's more difficult to be able to abstain from drinking alcohol. And even if you're able to do it once or twice, eventually you will get back into that habit again of drinking. And it's very, very tricky and difficult because of the fact that we have these habitual tendencies built up, and as beginners we haven't got the expertise to be able to overcome them quickly. And so if you can associate, if you've given up alcohol, associate with non-drinkers, it's very, very good. And that to understand that to change in some cases, in many cases, it's quite difficult. And that, we need to be able to understand that we're kind of haven't got the fortitude that we think we have as well. And that if you are associating with people who have negative habits like that, and you still want to associate with them, then you may be able to kind of like resist once, twice, three times, but you will be tainted by such bad habits over time, and to the point where you kind of can completely just abandon Dharma practice altogether.
我的了，我的了，但这一般意思，让来捐，先来捐一个，觉得你捐的帮过的，捐的给几个月的，你捐的帮过个的，这个 tax 给的给全部交了哇，我的送过去了，我的了这，但我的了这，但真的是你把的了，世界各半年上，他就成过来的了，早晚了，刚才几把让的呢，没法搞我米中月，几把看呀，下面些这些小伙那么就送上。
So it's yes, so that's where we have a fault, the person we're associating with has a fault, that we need to be very clear-headed in order to be able to kind of live with that and to overcome that, rather than just to fall into the mutually faulty behavior. The next of the heading is that we have the second of those two subheadings, which is the reasoning behind that. And this goes directly to a quote from the Buddha, verse number 24, which says, It has been said by the Tathagatas that one should not befriend the childish, because unless they get their own way, these children are never happy.
and chen nyamne jigen en di shibu dinde ji de to ge chen bo ziba yina an so so le chen nyamne le ge ji ma bu yong de ro de de su ge jum zen gang ge chen asa ka sa jiba ne sa da jiba thame wa de ji dar yang ge de ji ba ne ki bu shen le rang de ne la ba shi me ba ra ka wa mi jung we sa ka ja ka wa mi jung we na jiba ga yang de su yin ba yin ne rang xie jian ji jiang rang xie jian da 让谢谢即将找到咱些所店家民诺些这些小把商业重点的就送说小把我讲
And so that here it's saying, yes, just here we're talking about the presence of powerful self-cherishing. And so we have our own self-cherishing. We may be associating with those who are very powerful, a sense of self-cherishing. So the kind of ideas of a like and dislike constantly exchanging all the time. And so this is the reasoning behind the previous verse that is saying, when we have these childish, these beginners, when they develop their mind, trying to develop their mind, the idea that, you know, they have this idea that whatever they think is the most important and can never be any other way. And so because of that, it's very difficult for them to experience any happiness. And that, you know, that they're kind of like others, then they have this self-obsession that very difficult to kind of like to befriend, and that you know, unless things are going their way, then they are never very happy. They're never going to find any satisfaction. There's always this sense of frustration in their lives because things aren't going exactly the way they want to. And this is something which has come from the Tathagatas, the Buddhas.
是，他这说的这个基本他们要到热当送过药嘛，他因为第一三路的对嘛，俺让做做的呢，俺让做来刚才地方这个的是，俺让做来当不差掉了吧？他第一把他俺让做让真正干的，现在这原来大概这讲的，俺第基本他们那个让真正说全部第落到对嘛，说做的呢，俺说做伢们接触嘛了吧？接了给这个吧，我的送过药的，我的。
And so here again, one should not forsake such childish people mentally. That you know, we have to understand that as beginners, they are, and as beginners for us, that's going to be a problem for us if we are associating with people. And that it's because we are beginners, they are beginners. We're kind of like really all at sea. And it's kind of what's the counter force to this is to really contemplate on the faults of self-cherishing and on the benefits of cherishing others, and try to apply that to understand the difficulty of a close association with somebody who is so self-obsessed, but the benefits, to keep the benefits of cherishing them, cherishing others as much as possible without getting yourself wrapped up in their dramas.
对，咱电过对，电过对，电对，说这个告诉的，这个告诉的，我是把的圣诞节过的，琢磨的，对的，这个告诉的，告诉的他这个听着那么多苗子，把看电的这个他，看电吧来，这个上路这个都靠马多呢，也看电多么多，我等的，靠最近的电车外的人家们来那个多是。 아니 가서 담에 와다 삼로 단다 된데 단게 도와. 된데 다나 녜미 땡에 저 두메들라 아니 계획지기 도와스. 안 된데 임바다 다 내가 장하도 마다나 담에를 샷스. 이내 sem부터는 sem단에 보자. 텔레 펜바투도 두. 아니 담아데 땡에 저 두베데 sem제 탐제도 산제 고마토에 주도 아니 딜레 펜바투에 치도 좋아. ruwa. Ta dine imbuto, nega tizo gek jigo yobaze, gek de ngoto bachana, an tida sosuge namju jawa shukchambo yobate, ane tamewe jawa shukchambo de ti jangare da tang. Ane samlo chuge jawa de rangcha sha, diya yaje tang. Ya kwa kaze, diga nechu diga dada, kwa kapto ka jitang chi yorba. Di sungu yore.
And so really this is nothing more than kind of practical steps that we must take, you know, when we talk about isolating ourselves. Why? It's in order to practice. So we separate ourselves even from those who we regard as close friends, close relatives, those we love and get on well with. But for the sake of practice, and particularly, you know, to generate meditative concentration, and then associating even with those that we love is considered an obstacle. And so it's kind of saying, for the moment, temporarily, I'm separating myself because I recognize what is an obstacle to my development of meditative concentration. Of course, in one's general practice, of course, we maintain our love, our compassion for all sentient beings, particularly those who we have this close relationship with. But here, my goal is to attain meditative concentration. For that, I need to isolate myself to have particular conditions. And one of them is to be away from society.
Kasana tenga zen gongwe sede ane sem da lu niga ane gozo ba phe bo ko yore ane de ga chujo du chujo ji ti de le yoba ina sem ba phe ko ra yong ma ra tuk de gwa tenga zen yoba ko ra yoba wa wo da yoba ko ra di sam yang chen ko ti da ji ge jawa de ta sing sa de ane ko di ge de yoba wa di ge de me tu tenga zen chi ge ji me ba cha ju do wa me ba cha ju do wa 아니 나기 계절에 삼로 돈데 대화 수첩을 연아 양고지 연구를 와. 예 연구도 와.
So that's when we are developing meditative concentration, it's a prerequisite is to have a settled body, settled mind. And this is kind of like really important. If we are associating with others at this time, there will be all of this I like, I dislike, and so on, attachment and aversion happening, which is making it almost impossible to develop this settled body and settled mind. And so this is, you know, just the external conducive conditions for a meditative concentration. And, you know, we have all sorts of internal stuff that needs to be dealt with as well and can arise as obstacles.
다 시바 연바 때문에 평균에 왔다 들리 이면서 연바 때고 그래서 다 연바 때문에 평균 가서 연바 때문에 평균을 나자 아니 저기 켜봐 내기 켜봐 저에 켜봐 소소도배 켜봐 미행에 켜봐 제 켜봐가 요랬음.
The fourth of these is the reliance upon isolation and the benefits of that. These are five subheadings. The first is the particular companions, then the particularities of the place, the particularities of one's way of living, and the particular thoughts, thinking that goes along with that, and the particulars of there being no distraction.
뭐 저기 켜봤더니 저기 켜봤네 자발래 나나리다 자남다 신남민의 주미지 저나 대와 대다다 남질 현재 다내 좁죠.
So the particular of companions, this is verse number 25. When shall I come to dwell in forests, amongst deer, the birds, and the trees? That have nothing unpleasant. They say nothing unpleasant and are delightful to associate with.
뭐들 다 KBS 오늘 전에 다 지금 남주 배주 당신게 오늘 전에 땡기 뒤지 좀 신경 질다 켜봤을 거로 아니 된된데서 단데 켜봤을다 켜봐 아니 계속 단지 좀 속에서 와 개베 지바다 줘봐 빠내서 다 간제 땡에서 좀도 집에다 줘와이나 땡에서 객지기여서 아니 집에 안되는 가서 지바다 줘봐 빠내서 빠내 아니 나서 내나 다 된데 내 오바 rosa ta nala soba ta shi nala soba tende naso ta never chattes ta batende ane kaso de ane tende ke tenge zu tubali ke me ke ane nase la soba tende never chats never chattes tende ke nase batena ane draw ke kebar ta draw chik ngara zu chi kaso mida tunde me wa cha draw ke kebar ta ke kaso de shinada rila soba nebe ane te kaso de rida rida ta shawa da kashala soba ta rida ta dagane ja tramanda yora ja namta da ani sing namnes da de ge shinadi sing nami la so de minyabar jobar michade de ge soso ge kasore ge jo tuye ge ani de ge ani ge chadang ge de onge minyabar jo ani chadang ge minyabar jo ge yo manes ro minyabar jobar micheba tang 데데다 droba ina 아니 대화다 때마다 소소군에다는 샘시 루부차 어들 남친나 와다 데데게 최주베게 아니 대화다 때마다 남친나 현지도 다 내버 줘서 와다 데데 거기 용투고 요나 삼자 데데 용해라다 지가서데 지금 좋아하기에 소치 샘 샘지 면로서 안 데데를 레와카테치 면로셔 오죠
So this verse is quite clear where we have abandoned our associations with all of the childish and the childish ways. This is for those who have, have the expertise to prioritize in this way and have found themselves an isolated place, such as in a forest here, and that and to dwell in these forests, and that here they haven't got anything that will cause them distraction. For example, they're associating now with the deer, with birds, with the trees, who would never say anything unpleasant and who are very pleasant to associate with. And it's really saying here, it's the ideal conditions where you have no obstacles, such as your mind drawn to attachment or aversion over different issues. But here, these beings very pleasant to associate with, and it's like a beautiful question: when will I be able to find such a beautiful place to continue my practice?
我感觉点这个各自的心呐的家的里的错的啊说吧，点做给，俺那让了，俺说哦，他去了娘们也不几个多大是呢，呀这个对了当个要嘛的，去了娘们几个我都是买了不跟要嘛的，他感觉点这个呀对了他买了这个样，甚至出了吧，是吧？刚呀点的这个哦，他去娘们。这个야구 지금 다 쓰는지 저 냠내 야구를 다 써야 되려 다냐 섬직 속으로 와 와다죠 제라도 냠내 그 야구 제통보다 다가서도 왔어요 매래 바꾼데 가야 뭐 돼도 그 소소 냠내 제와다 맞아 될 코나도 가서 떠나거나 매서다 대 저기 된데 그 정도게 라드 야 되려 당원게다 야 매래 바꾼데 가야 말 왔다 된데 매매네 안 된데 시외 나긴데서 아니 된데 나게 내서 내봐 있는다 견조 패고 수정 거로 직대 최제게 개용아 되는 용으로 왔다 어디에 숨어요 어디에 참 상가라도 미래지나 소소 가게 야 되랬던 게 야한테 야 좋다네 냠네 또스면 지금은 야고 싶이 지금 열다 쓰는 거죠 야 가서 어디 야고 지금 나다 소소 막아 어디 야고 지금 요 말을 쓰는 소리다 걔 드라마를 해야 되는 거야 되게 계좌 가야 매버지
And so you're in an isolated place like this where your companions are the deer and the birds. And so you're going to be, you're not going to be disturbed by praise, thinking, somebody is there telling, oh, you're doing some great practice now. And so you get this arrogance, you get this, result of praise. Or you don't have the opposite, where somebody is condemning your practice, saying you're wasting your time. And that's going to be an obstacle as well, where you take offense at what they say. So, you're not likely to receive any commentary from the deer or the birds in that way. And so you are going to experience a fewer of the 8 worldly concerns, which is a great benefit to when you're trying to do single-pointed meditation. And so that's why, this kind of a situation is very, very important and very helpful. And so it's,
대외 draw 상보승처럼 대외 draw 상보승 로다 그래 왔다 된데 지금 된데 대외 draw 상보 draw 상보 어서 이동와 대다 당 대다 당사 된 남시도 학생 다녀봐 줘서 왔다 된데 신다 소소 거들 거들 레토나사다 뉴도 레토나 상사ချက်이 셈치 멤버 was 다 간자 셈 된데기 아니 그 연대한테 통내는 좋아하게 숨고 열어 어떤데 어떤 숨도 다 니바 내기 개발해서 자와래 포가 나가 동반나 전신 정도 내제데 남시 잡도 미다시 착바매와 규식고 사조다기 송매와 란신기네 양남소 라와제제 창매와 남제 다니 내버 줬어
and so the second of these particulars is related to the place, and this is verse numbers 26 and 27. When dwelling in caves, in empty shrines, and at the feet of trees, never look back. Cultivate detachment. When shall I come to dwell in places not clung to as mine, which are by nature wide and open, and where I may behave as I wish without attachment?
어디죠? 다 내게 개발자 다 되게 내게 개발 사이 부가다 사부다는 잡부다 아니 하가 동바 준신의 정도 내가 제대스다 간자 어디게 그 로다 간자 저기 라 차바다 된데 롱다 된데 그 뇌샤 마제사 된데 다 간자 된데 내 지라사 김라 소바 ngar 방바 대다 7년벌 미되베나 남식 잡도 미다시 다 오다 된데 가서데 야 ngar 방바 되게 되달 야 쇼스 차네 대바이나 야 계기 가서데 바제징으로 디 교연대잖아 근데 단다 당도 렘바들 연대 때네 좋아게 그래서 나는 남식 잡도 미다시스 잡도 선 ngar 되게들 미다네 안 되게들 차네 대바이나 아니 계조도 연구해봐 이제 디 교연도 때네 미다시 대달라 착관해봐 남식나 내교 다 나게 되돌아는 맞아와잖아. 엔딜이 교연도 되네. 딜이 제바이는 소신 잡내도 좀 맞아 왔게 돼. 계획이 맞았어. 삼로단에 남시다 주시 구 냠바당. 사조 수자 다게 송아 매버서 수자 다게 송아 매버서 다 간제 저거 가서데 로다 다게 송아지 임바이나 양수 되게 가요라 디 람정와라 저거도야 바제 용 시기로와 되게 바제 마송아 네 지로와 제가 수야 다보 매바제 계급다 되게 다보 매바제 가보로와 이내양 이내 디지 결수주 사자 다보 잡자는 간자서는 양 용자 용할 텐데 용구로와 좋아 사정을 제가 대초 매스나 간요를 된데 그 용자들 매바서 사조 수자 다그 송매바서 라신게네 양신 자체와 나서서 토면 정서 수장 되미고 봤다 저기 진솔아 아니 저기 디 딜 되먹어 가자 랑기 냠내 저걸 만요 봐디 세트 참 먹어 라완도도 쥐져서 다들 류롱저 간라에 차바매 봐 남시 다네 네버 주스 냠도 멤버 자와 셔보자
And so here describing the situation, the place in which you are in. Again, you have, a beautiful place where it can be a cave, it can be an empty temple, or at the foot of a tree where you can engage in your practice. You have kind of said goodbye to friends and neighbors. You have overcome them, the distraction that they might cause, and that you are somebody who's very um, uh, short on, you don't have many desires, and that you have, turned your back on society, and you are proceeding with detachment. And that here, that you're kind of prepared for whatever may come about. You are, you're thinking that you are, practicing in a place that you do not consider as your own. And again, of course, we can see that there may be problems with the problem that you have possession of or own, but also that you simply don't go anywhere. You need to get permission to stay in a place that is not your own. But you have that, and so you have peace of mind about where you're staying, and that the area is somewhere which is open and vast, is kind of like got a very moderate climate, not too much wind or rain, that it is kind of even, again, not too craggy and not too low, and so on. That and that, you have this sense of you can be who you are, where you don't have to rely on anything but your practice, and that you don't have to do anything in particular, but without, sorry, apart from your practice. But again, you're free um of attachment in whatever you're doing, and that this is the way that you are staying. And again, it's that, almost aspiration or prayer: when shall I come to dwell in such a place?
가서는 내게 개발해서 가서는 다 내디 아니 나 그저 돈지게 영화제사가 내 임바 소리 대서 대내파 위원회 내 엄바대도 내 엄바대 계시식으로 내 엄바대 대서다 파가 임바이나다 얘네 고반 임바 잡거든 임바 야나 잡고 잡는데 가리 임바 있네야 아니 된대게 내 그래서 내서대 네네 남지 잡도면다 되네 내 차도야 니마가 대서도 기부유 로바 야고요스데 살로 마다하자 디견도 되네 그래서 야 딜제 소리 경 받제 용거와 단다 니마제다나 치 튕게 대상 요마르와 이나야 단다디 땡에서 주비라 문에다나 땡에서 주비게 연대 여기 내래 나디 가서데 나디 셈 잉여게 시차대도 에네 땡에서 주베 게인데 딜레 견도 되네 딜라 마차와찬 잡도 마다스는 나게 딜라 잡도 마다셔 딜라 잡고 오 단다 땡에도 땡에서 주베라 오다 야고 쉬우지르샤 내 상보르샤 야고 쉬우지르샤서 디 연대단은 나게 데 잡도 마다스 딜라 마차와찬네 좋아 미주 지고레서 아니 사저 다게 숨메바서 사저데 아니 셴바지게야 소소 되나야 님 가서데 오 대마조와 된데 지역이야 지금 가서 개 소소가 답보송화 되는 용거로 와. 안 되는 소는 야 소소 바제직을 어디 대 정말을 저거를 생각하고 되는 시에직으로 와. 되는 욕자 매게. 그러한 욕자 매게 돼서라. 다게 소매 봤을 지다 다게 소매에 사제다 또 커버를 개갑다. 안에 셔바지가 답보 마송을 사제다 다 대샤 커버로 와. 니마 이제는 되는 요도를 다 커버로 와. 이내야 다게 송아 요바 이내 소소 대바 이나 소소 냠래라 바제 맞게지. 바제 맞게. 다 숨매 봤습니다. 란싱게는 양 사자 구양보제 라미 종샤매 봤제 사자 구양보제 라완주제 참매 봤 남제 다는데 어다 된데시라 수수 남제 내도는 근데 야고 용부려서는 좋아게 되는 좋았던서
So yes, the place that we're talking about here. So you've got a way, and so you're looking for a cave. You're looking for an empty temple or building. You're looking for at the foot of a tree, etc. and you can't be thinking about, oh yeah, there was a place before where I had a really good time. There was a friend nearby. This is where you have to draw a line. You say, now in the pursuit of meditative concentration, that kind of place would be an obstacle. That friend would be an obstacle to me. And so it's kind of like you need to really prioritize and be specific about a place that is conducive to the cultivation of meditative concentration. And that again, anywhere previous that you had good practice might not be perfect, because it may be a distraction to that process of developing meditative concentration. Where it talks about a place not clung to as mine, you have to ensure that you're not kind of trespassing. For example, you might be told to move on, or you have that uncertainty in your mind that you're in a place where you might be asked to leave. Again, that's going to play on the mind and make it difficult. In the past, of course, you could go into parks and isolated areas where there were no human beings, but now government kind of have conditions on all of these places, so it makes it more difficult. But what you are essentially trying to do is to find a place free of obstacles to the development of meditative concentration.
我的那这这，俺得了的，当他来的铺的拉杆节在呢，说是查验要外那样，康巴的种种所有的对吧？了，莫为了康巴的用的，他感觉跟着因为呢，我的那个所有的用错过了，用错过了，用错过了，他个就快听见了，把别用错过了。
So we're talking about, a small, we're talking about the cave, the temple and so on. Here it could be a small hut or house or cabin or a mobile, something mobile as well, that you could sit and be able to practice successfully.
我这他过来查见说这样推荐没着，对你妈个桌上说铺的那个是你妈桌上，但在对嘴了宝贝样快，但是都做的，因为他改起学的那我把店的改起不是够多，等个是主跟起码一呢，
And so, of course, these examples in the text are referring mostly to many centuries ago where it was possible to do this. Here we can, infer the idea of a cabin or a hut or something like that. The main condition would be that it is isolated. That is kind of, isolated.
我的，当初嘛，所谓有这个开发年是早晚了，从小老说你现在过来每个国家去，绿的跑了嘛，这讲境外那把南西就是讲。
Next is the particulars of the way of living, the livelihood. And verse number 28 says, "When shall I come to live without fear, having just a begging bowl and a few odd things, wearing clothes not wanted by anyone, and not even having to hide this body?"
我的，他的做的，让不中完了，送个多给龙一把西下去了，他一把西下送过去了，因为他们呢，米家一把让过去给了宝贝，他感觉这个，可说的，他这个这把给我买干，这把给我买干，说过一个呢，过的。查检这个的，要把钱送过去了，我他的因为的，因为的，三类这边弄，但是给弄西家做弄，卡拉萨给，他那的送过来弄下来，说白要钱，明白你说话，用钱当啥的这个，俺的基本上过了没可谓，俺的查到这边过，强行是查到这把是的，这个我这人大概是没。可是的，他可是的查得出，查些，今年是绿了呀，对吧？没把龙卷带大当，可是绿，可是龙卷带大当绿的包儿嘛，这讲，全国来说呗，基本没别三那吧，南西那就那不没那些吧，我讲，
And so here, first of all, it should be said that these verses are very much directed at those who are renunciates, those who are fully ordained, and so on. And so that this verse certainly reflects that. And so here it's saying that, you know, what you need, just the yeah, when shall I just having just a begging bowl and a few odd things. And so it here says the minimum really for one's practice. And so an earthen begging bowl is recommended, just a few simple possessions that are practical and necessary, as few as possible, and then definitely a reference to the monk is that you are wearing clothing not owned by anyone. That traditionally the robes are made from patches of cloth that was found cloth, like and so here this is what it refers to, and that you are, you know, not kind of like you have the not even having to hide your body. So it's kind of here is saying that you can have no fear, that you have very few possessions, yet you are fully focused on what you are doing, and that you know you are no fear of bandits or anything coming to rob you because you've nothing to take, and that you can rest easy in your mind and set about cultivating your practice. Wouldn't it be nice?
어디로서 다 간제 저 가서래 다 소수의 류소야 잠도 안디 구마다 작바들 요는 펜토에 잘라 매겐치 다 간제 어딘데 초답 제장 다 간제 어딘데 제서 이내야 대다가 너번 매설을 대기잖아 하고 말아 구마다 작바들서 건조 하고 말아 딜 가제 예비도 하고 말아 안디 자야 용미세가 말아 된데게 너번 매바 제대 개치 못했어 어디 숨이요 어디서
And of course, this refers to, you know, that you are really not a target for robbers or bandits because you have so little. There wouldn't be any benefit to them to rob you. But of course, they don't know that. And so it's better that they do not know where you're at anyway.
냐마 지즈멜레 잡고날 권다타나 걸 구말레본 버려 구말레네 아니 구마게 세대인스로 다 지즈멜레 가리가르도 세대도 니에스게 요마라 지즈멜레 아니 지즈멜레게 가사 녜 니모 많이 봐 쳬츠모 가네 니송데 녜 니메 콜라 니에게 요마레스 니마 콜라 아니 캐나 ts나 콜라 쳬다 가와니 니에게 요마르소 지즈멜레 멜라레바 잡고나라 구말레도와 구말레네 아니 ts나 콜라 아니 구마게 세인스로 지즈멜레도 가리가르도 아니 지즈멜레 검게 쇼데데 아니 세데데 아니 지즈멜레 송도 녜 니메 콜라 쳬네 가야 니게 문도스 녜 니메 콜라 니메 콜 데이타임 니메 콜라 쳬나 가야 니게 문도스 아니 계란 ts나 콜다 가와 니게 니게 요마르스 하고세 지즈멜레게
So yeah,
구말레 구말레 세데 니게 요마르와 아니 지즈멜레 송도 계란 게 니게 말에 녜 니메 콜라 쳬나 니게 문도 다 계란 ts나 콜라 쳬나 가와 니게 니게 말스
So there was an incident once when Geshe Milarepa was engaged in his practice, meditating in a cave in the at night, and a thief arrived and entered in, and Milarepa was still in meditative concentration, and the thief was going around trying to find something to steal when Geshe Milarepa said to him, listen, if you had come in the daytime, you still wouldn't find anything. So I don't know what the point is.
말해. 녜게 니메 콜라 니게 문도.
So yeah.
니게 뭐도 계란 ts나 콜다 가와 니게 니게 말했어.
So he said, sorry, during the daytime, I have not found anything here. So I don't know what you're going to find even when you come at night.
가서 구마를 팬도 잘라 요 말에 지금에라 자고치면도 요 말에 아니 뒤가서 사보 거는 쳐거라 축구에 전에는 사보로는 치고 열마 사보 nettle.
Oh yeah, nettles, yeah.
Only nettle, nothing, only water and nettle.
Nettle soup, yeah.
No oil, no salt, nothing. What is it? 다 가이나면 단다데 저 문에 전에게 아니 첼롱에게 가서래 아니 가서래 단다데 땡에서 주당 아니 데데 지구를 숨어 열봐 이내 단다데 디게 건가 단다 가라서 인간 건가를 코아지려서 컵도들 코아 말에 다데 인도 다 가라서 가르쳐 어다 가르쳐서 가라서 남주 직사 가라서 탐해와라 로 탐해와라 아니 탐해와서 근데 가쳐줘 두쳐줘요 디게 신배 돈냐 다 가르쳐 그랬어 아니 되게 탐에게 내단다 어디 탐에게 라시에서 마가와 맞지 셈마기와 맞지 근데 탐에와 딜레데는 이제 거미 잠바 거미 로아 잠바 거미 아니 어딘데스네 다디 간토도 그 최다 tum바 저투에지 다다 뭐저 년대가 어디 년전 남자 땡에서 누가 그저 가고래 그래 이나 뭐저 몰람 잡죠 그래 이나 다 가르쳐 그래서 다다 되고 땡에서 두발라 아니 되게 된 거라서 타메와 도와대니 개그레스도 다 모두 가서 가서 다들 대사 조사 사나 통나 대사 가 타메와 잔자래 안 뒤에도 모두 신배 토네 어다 모두 가추죠 두초죠 안 또스는 마티바 소소 대바 또스 마가다 남자 직두자 돼 어다 디 타메와 조다지래 서 딜라테는 타메와 임바인사 동 이제 동해 요래 강해 요래 딜라케네 잡아고야 이제 거비에 세와 거비에 아니 딜라테는 쇠배 냠내 제도 받지. 알아 딜라테는 남자 수 두자라다 팔남자 두자 말아버지. 어디 탐에 시가래 탐에 들에 연구를 와. 다들의 인san 인제 삼자 어디를 전 아니 지금 랑게 잠바데 닝제다 되게 냠내를 제도야. 뒤쳐주에 튕겨를 자도야. 어디 개처분이 말이야. 그래서 양 나라도다 저와 촌내 매겨지 줬대네. 쉬우지 요 말봐. 좋았다. 나라도다 일이 저와 가도 모두 저와데 남주 소소 산다레 정부 정모레 파마 빈자레 아 되게 녀도 모두 섬도 참 맞아다 지금 뭐지 뭐 연구도 와 다들 가서 어디 탐에 와인 배 따리 샤 섬사잖아 아니 디 탐에 교연레 샤 레샤 섬사 아니 딜라데는 모두 코아 코르데도 섬사 제자 아니 딜라데는 코알레 타다가 섬도다야 볼람자야 냠내 강투도 지야 딜라데는 소바 강투도 검도야 아니 강투도게 가추죠 도추죠 많이 봐자 삼로도스 자체산에 따라 스바도스 구양의 아니 다다 가추죠 도초도 낭낭가세의 연구도서 나세의 숙충다 당 현재의 숙체다 당에 탑시지에 어디 돌아야 되돌지에 어디에 삼로당 아니나 다다 프랙티컬 차기로 와 다다 땡에서 주변 방법 쉬우시 나라도 갑도들라 아니 배주 배기 차기도 와 되네 많이 버전 다 딜라 되네 한번 나라도 랍자 가를 랭국도
So what's being discussed here, what's under discussion here is, of course, the particular conducive conditions for the cultivation of meditative concentration. And so as beginners, we might feel this is, very much kind of like difficult to even imagine finding such a place, the time, etc., and all the conditions necessary. But we have to start where we are to realize, there's so much that can be done. And as beginners, we can have the aspiration to kind of be in a situation where we might have the opportunity to develop meditative concentration. But in the meantime, we are kind of like think of it as preliminaries to all that we can apply. How can we best apply the Dharma in our everyday life now, and to understand that, we're very fickle with our emotions. That which pleases us, displeases us, I like, I dislike, this is good, this is bad. I'm always using that discriminating attitude, and trying to reduce the degree to which that is, dominating our minds. And, how skillful can we become at redirecting our attention to love, to compassion, to the thinking that accords with the Dharma. And that and then we can make aspirational prayers as well, that I really will determine that at some point I will find that time and opportunity for to find an isolated place where I can focus on meditative concentration. But for now, it's kind of like to try to transform my attitude from the kind of like knee-jerk reactions I have for my emotions. Therefore, to try and stop this reacting to everything that occurs in life, but to try and find that moment where we can really apply the Dharma, to see how each of these moments don't have to be something that I react to, but I can see how they can become a conducive condition to practice the Dharma, to develop my mind of enlightenment, and so on. And to do so with these close to us is my main objective now, that those who I associate with on a day-to-day basis, these are the sphere of my practice. And that here I can understand that my kind of fickle mind is just a sign of being a beginner, a sign of being an ordinary person. And that I know that this is what's keeping me in cyclic existence. This can turn my mind to go, okay, well then what do I need to do with this mind to move closer to liberation from cyclic existence? And that means I need to really broaden my mind, to develop some space within my own mind state, so that I can really reduce the degree to which I am dominated by myself, and start focusing on others, and to really start kind of like really push the emphasis of life to consider others first and foremost. And really it's talking about what I can do practically, what is going to be beneficial, what can I do practically now. And to also, never lose your aspirations to develop meditative concentration, but say, here, I'm a beginner, I'm just an ordinary person, I have a lot of difficulty controlling my mind and my mental afflictions, but this is what I can do now.
다 간제 저기 탐에 교연 되게 돼 어느 소소로 두개 문도 또 요번에 숙청다 그래서 당 거고도 그래 숙청다 건져서 당 거고도 어들 아니 된대게 탐에 그 삼로 당당 뒤 당대원은 소소 기부 차기도 작으면도 뒤 기부 작으면도 와다 기부 작으면도 아니 뭐도 대화 되어버려 동네 미 되어버려 된대 이 맞아 다디 그 삼로 당당의 요가지 마다나 뒤 남의 기부 작이 말와 다 된서 그 집 맞아서 삼류 조당 돈을 용도도 아니 그 가서래 지 가서래 바디카 교전에 아니 얘는 강아 생각 숙청보 요거 뒤 숙청다한테는 셴셴스가 숙청다 쳇다 땅답지 셴셴스가 숙청다 쳇다 땅답지 아니 강아 생각 숙청도 총도 아니 셴스가 숙청다 쳇다 저도 아니 저거 내가 왜 강아 중아 돼 아니 타도가 산재 고마 죽투야 어다 개배 쇼쇼부지를 샤서도 네 뭐처가 야고 중나 아니 림베게 아니 셴셴제도 숙청다 쳇다 저도 근데 개배 열와 그 미스는 남주 요바더라 개배 요바 인자 개배 요새 초한테 뭐 야고지 줘봐 이나 오늘 전에게 가서데 제바 제네 아니 랑도 그 예바 장도 봐 지중마 이나 아니 예바 장에 되는데 아니 또 잡아 이나 또 잡아이나 아니 대 녀바 땡내 녀토가 중고라 대나 아니 교가 매바 땡보 싶은 중고로 와 아니 란제제 가세 슈충다 저 슈충다 슈에 책에 란키 사베다 셴디게 중나 상고 요한테 패다 란라 디게 용도 것도 란라 디게 용도 란 디게 슈체드 줘되게 또 다디 녀바시 녀바이나 아니 그 빼면서 야고 책으로 와
And so here, for us at this point, it's the reality of initially knowing where we're at mentally and how much or how little control we have of our mind states. And to, first of all, set about reducing the difficulties that we have in our lives. And that, we know we want happiness and we don't want suffering, but we have to ask the question of how am I happy? How happy am I? And when I say I want happiness and I don't want suffering, what is it that will lead to that result, to increase the instance of happiness, to reduce the instance of suffering? What is it that really will lead to that? So it's kind of like you settle on the fact that less emphasis on self, more emphasis on other. And the more we're able to do that, the more that we, first of all, reduce the problems and issues for ourselves, and the closer we get to liberation and enlightenment. That here, this is something which is logical, It's not pie in the sky. This is something that's within the range of our human intelligence, that we can see the logic, the reasoning behind this. And through that analysis, we can actually, gain a point of really that this becomes something which is self-powered. We have gained this understanding for ourselves. And the more we deepen that through our own thinking, the more conviction we have, and we reach a stage where then we can integrate it into our lives. It's settled, it's unchanging. We're never going to turn back. We know the formula that the more emphasis that we place on the importance and the happiness of other equals actually more happiness for myself. That's the magic formula that we have to gain conviction in. So we leave it there for today. And so one again, bring our attention to the Guru Manindra that we are visualizing in front.
이게 가서도 밤지교 랑기지고 이거 밤 용서 저거 빼마 담아 잡아 공부하셔. 아니 지나게 저희 근데 집안에 유대한 좀 두산 요만에서 커다 쳐봐 공부하셔. 근데 예별로데 이게 혼지교 혼용서 저거를 님의 정과 약간와 저 빼매 대도내서 섬사차. 근데 뭐다 라완데 마주바 이바인데 다 조사데 때내 중하면도 조사민도. 근데 이바이사다 산제 공부하나 두규 요바지 차대도 선 어때 대중이be 중자라 때는 뭐다 듣는 봐니. 근데 이제 아니 subject 탐제도 산제 공부 두번 맞잖아. 탐도 두부이 사대 뉴아니도 두부이 사 공부시. 근데 예별로데 이게 아직 아연소자 다외 정원자고 반대 자벨라 뭐를 다게 지고면서 그래 구소 투정 무도 자도 순대자 담배 가서 배 니배 가서 수 수배 가서 때도신 산제 공부마도 뭐 저수수 아니 되네 다가자 양아동은 면제도 저와 어디는
And so then we again bring our mind to focus on the Guru Manindra in the space in front and prepare our seat on our crown for the invocation. So again, we bring our mind to think on cyclic existence, how in fact it is in the nature of suffering, and that I must gain this sense of definite emergence from this state of suffering, and so bring our mind to focus on liberation and renunciation, which is symbolized by the syllable Bam, which transforms into a lotus mandala seat on our crown. And then further contemplating how all inner and outer phenomena lack any objective existence, even at the atomic level, and they're merely imputed by thought, and that placing one's mind on this reality brings forth the syllable Hung, which transforms into the sun mandala seat on our crown. That this lacking of any self-powered existence or objective existence then actually implies that phenomena rise in dependence. And this opens up the whole possibility that I could accumulate all the causes to lead to the result of enlightenment. And therefore, I can quickly make my aspirational intention to quickly attain the state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. This is symbolized by the syllable A, which then transforms into the moon mandala disc on our crown. And then we offer the invocation verse, O glorious and precious root guru, come take your lotus and moon seat placed here on my crown. Keep me safe in your kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the figure moves from the merit field towards us. At the end of the second, arrives at our pre-prepared seat. And at the end of the third recitation, we have the certainty that the Guru Manindra will remain with us until we attain the state of enlightenment. We rejoice in this. And then we offer the seven-limbed practice and the mandala.
Tene yanjong ngenjong gomba shijo jadu, ane tene ngenjong nyebe lote rangi ningde, ane ka yeke pam chela chuso sansa, pam yongzo ja pema tama jaba chela chuso sansa, ane china yudan rwa tuzang yomar kuta chuba gomba shi, tene nyebe lote, yeke hong yongzo jubale ta kancha nime jingwa nyakawa chuso sa, simja tamche kado sanja gomba nyuwa, nido mahdan toba chigi sansa gomba shi, tene nyebe Jubati, and you ask iron sujubale, David Wanyakos, Pandita, Lamar, David Ningaber, Kusu to Jubu, Sunday Jawaban, Tabaka to pay, Nibaka the shoe, Sumaka Tetution, Sanja Kumamato, for the Susa, the Lenin Pamata jetted, Namju, Ning Nadan, in this match, Diga Tojiko Sanga Kajet. He Tago to Tumbetsanga, O Monument Mamas, O Monument, O Monument Massa, Tenet to Jamas, O Marapatana did.
So then again, we bring to mind the reality that we are in cyclic existence, that of suffering, and the renunciation that develops the mind wishing to be free from that suffering. And this then is symbolized by the syllable Bam, which now transforms into the lotus mandala seat at our heart center. Again, contemplating how all inner and outer phenomena lack any objective existence, and that they are merely imputed by thought, produces the syllable Hung, which transforms into the sun mandala seat on top of the lotus at our heart center. And finally, the fact that phenomena arise in dependence opens up the possibility of the mind of enlightenment, the attainment of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. And that is symbolized by the syllable A, which transforms into the moon mandala seat at our heart center. Again, the invocation verse, thrice, O glorious and precious root guru, come take a lotus and moon seat placed here at my heart. Keep me safe in your kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the Guru Manindra moves into our crown chakra down through into our central channel. At the end of the second recitation, arrives at our pre-prepared seat at the heart. And at the end of the third, again, we have that certainty that the Guru Manindra will remain with us until we attain the state of enlightenment. We rejoice in this fact. And then the petals of the lotus fold over and are sealed at their tips by a white 5-pronged vajra. The package then is surrounded by 3 mantras: the name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha in a clockwise direction, the mantra of Manjushri in an anti-clockwise direction, and the mantra of dependent arising in a clockwise direction.
투병 본내바데 아니 구송들 위해서 저는 랑게 집어내 간디고 벌어 위해서 저 통화면 두번째 개발도 한다 제가 간다 라시 가도면 내가 진이 사바는 세대 생각만 때가 통화면 내가 디가 바 자소 서자 되네 소다가 도마다 가와다 자주스면 라바다 거 상하에 다제다 가다 파라마다 막고 전부 로건 좋아서 맞아 막 구조설은 내벨 내줘봐 담배 쳐봐 법의 준도로 구하다 봐 심절은 내벨 내줘봐 디바 미주바 소 다기 기바 시행기바 주바 기바라 제소 이나서 베다 코아든 여송이 코아든 여송이 그다 녀동거 소 진이 여바다 바 장제 다소 섬사자 되네 다 간자 아니 지금 가서 최주배 아니 개개 가서 랑을 루게 나서 생각 동에 그때 저 바짱체 단에 중식 거니 봐 잘롱 딜레 견단자 가나단자 다바는 저 바지 차도 하고 싶이 좀 선자 다 뉴도 산제 고마 토와라 타메가 나제 견치주 이바서 타메 나제 견단 제 장안에 가나단자 다바는 저 바지 차도 하고 싶이 좀 선거 고마시
And then when we again focus on the Guru Manindra sitting at our heart center on our pre-prepared seat, we see that light rays begin to emanate from the body, speech, and mind of the Guru Manindra, permeating through every cell of our bodies, from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet, and affecting a thorough purification of all negativities and obscurations that we have accumulated since beginningless time. All the negativities that we have accumulated in this life and the one previous to this and the one previous to that, going right back to beginningless time and countless rebirths. And that all of the naturally occurring negativities and every negativity that has been proscribed by the Buddha, these are all purified, and that all of the infractions and the downfalls associated with the Pratimoksha vows, the Bodhisattva vows, and the Tantric vows, they are all purified. All of the negativities that we have accumulated from disrespect shown to our parents up to our gurus, then the instances of splitting of the Sangha, of abandoning the Dharma itself, of all the negativities that we have done personally, who we have encouraged others to do, or that we have enjoyed or rejoiced in the doing of. And all those negativities are completely purified. And then all the obstacles such as to our practicing the Dharma that may occur in the form of physical illness or disease, or mental illness or disease, that these are all completely purified. That all of the elements within our body, the channels, winds and drops, the imbalances are all rebalanced and realigned. And that in particular, all of the main obstacle to our being able to quickly attain a state of enlightenment, namely ordinary appearance, is now changed into pure appearance.
안 소소 신도 저 론이 렌제 라마샤자스는 고데 렌제 지겐 소저데 라마샤자스는 콜로 주소 소저 신도 저 셈데 렌제 라마샤자스는 투데 렌제 지겐 소저 루데 셈데 라마샤자스는 투로 주소 랑게 룽아에서 라마샤자스 구송동고 예메 주소 디 대와데 대 동바 대도니 수메 시켜서 삼사체 라 내사가 내데 여기 견 탐제 되네 라마샤자스는 답에 신도 주소 삼사 라 라마샤자스는 구조동고 예메 주바들 나라라시 메바지 공바시 디 두가래 라마 샤자 생게 아니 가서래 셈제가 장다냐 뭐 파트네 셈제 리레 라마 샤자 생게 차상와래 티발라데네 대다 산제야 라마 샤자 구조도 뭐 예배 주수 섬제 대다가 내사가 뇌가 지대 대다 뇌가卷터졌잖아 라마 샤자 생게 다베 신도 주수 다 셈제 담자 산제가 살아 거기 생게 니마데린 거도수 손에 가고 오다스 셈제 담자 산제가 살아 거봐 디시도 수수 개와 가지고 죽은 소수 저거 유대는 저거 두자 요 말이 선 코다 저거 공부시 디 대화제 대 동바제 대던 뉴스만 이시 계속 쓰다 공부자
Then through the combination of my own more subtle wind acting as the substantial cause, together with the body of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own body is transformed into the enlightened body of a Buddha. And then through the combination of my own more subtle mind or consciousness acting as the substantial cause, together with the mind of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own mind is now transformed into the enlightened mind of a Buddha. Now I see my whole body, speech, and mind as inseparable from the body, speech, and mind of an enlightened being. This is wonderful. I rejoice in this. And then I again experience the sense of bliss, which combines with voidness, and abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. The place I am in is also purified of all fault and becomes the pure land of an enlightened being. Then seeing myself as a fully enlightened being, and also empty of inherent existence, I send out light rays from my heart center, countless light rays equal in number to all of the sentient beings in all the 6 realms of existence. And upon dissolving into those sentient beings, they spontaneously arise as fully enlightened beings. And the places that they find themselves in are also purified of all stain or fault and become the pure land of enlightened beings. This is wonderful. Today is the day in which I have been able to lead all sentient beings to that state of enlightenment, thus fulfilling my objective. But this leading of all sentient beings to enlightenment, the virtue that has kind of facilitated this, and myself as the agent of that virtue, I'll lack any objective existence and am merely imputed by thought. This in turn produces a sense of bliss. It combines with voidness, and I abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness.
단다 된데 삼로다도 매바 이제 정문에 걸어 된데 말봐 이내야 단다 된데 삼로다 와지 문에 걸어 주 뉴와지도 주에 주와 디야 아니 다긴 쇼바는 신체는 다가제 된데 주용하러 산제 고바 토고도 산제 고바 토고를 잠이 자도 돈이 더 비싸가 냠래 지금 된데 인사 랑게 내당 상에게 내당 근데 차바이네 대다 단자 장주가 센다 돈이 더 비싸게 튕겨를 주와지 지금 제도바 제도바 라마 투베 왜 징길라도 어다 공부된데 시 어든지
And so, of course, I know I am operating at the level of aspiration and imagination here. This is not something that happens so quickly and conveniently. And yet, when I do make my dedication, I do so with the utmost sincerity that I will do everything possible so that quickly, I may be able to make this, the object of my imagination, into something which is real. And so that and so I know what needs to be done in order for this to happen. I must attain the state of enlightenment in order to the benefit of all sentient beings. I know that to attain that, I must develop my compassion, my love. In particular, I must perfect the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness. And therefore, I must use every instance of my own life's experience to be able to do that. In other words, to see everything, good, bad, or indifferent, whatever occurs for me, as conducive condition to further the mind of enlightenment and further the wisdom realizing emptiness for me.
chi
chi
jang ma liu ba de ye sa la gu ba ra shu yan jo sen jo ren bo chi ma ye ba na ma ge ju ro ge ba nyam ba me ba ya bo ne go do ka wen
Show.
so ni da wa
Param
bo
hoche ma
ma ge ba na ma ge ju ro
hoche
ge ba
pa
nyam
nya
ba me
pa me
ba ya
pa yang
go
gong
ne gong do pe
du
wa
pa
la shu
show
ka re ra ve ko ve
Boy
ga ba
shinkam de
so
pandan de
da de wa
wa
ma le
malu
jo ve ne
jove de
che re
chenpe
se wa
jing
ten zen ja
ten
so pi
gyaro yi
sha
shape si
pe ba
te ba
do
tu
ten jo
ten gyo chi
me me
It's
se
a
me
way
je
to
je
ten
je
music
je
Gong po
je
yang
Dai
Gong
jai
chen
jai
ken pei
bo
Zu ken
song
song ka pa
lo
Lo
san
sang
da
ka
bi
pei
sha
Sha
lo
lo
so wan
so
de
de
me oi me
me
oi de
me
oi
se
me
we
de oi
Kao
de oi
chen
de oi de
chen sing
de oi me oi
Jing
de ôi
Gong
ôi
po
cha
jang
mẹ
gao yang
gọi
Gong
ôi
chen
ôi
ken
mẹ
pei
ôi
Zu
thiên
ken
giông
song
ngõ
ka pa
lo
Lo
ai
sang
cho
ga
đẹp
pe
cho
sha
lời
lo
số
so
ai
wa
đẹp
de me
ôi mẹ ơi
se
thế
we
ơi
kao chen chen sing me me ken pe wong po jang gao yang Gong chen ken pei zu ken song ka pa lo sang ga pei sha lo so de You are Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of compassion, not aimed at true existence, and Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, as well as Vajrapani, destroyer of hordes of demons without exception, Tsongkhapa, crown jewel of the sages of the land of snows, Losang Drakpa, at your feet I make requests.
Okay, thank you. Take care, everyone.
Thank you again.
Take care.
That's